Yeah.
Dallas, are we live? We have photos and we have videos and audios. Thanks for waiting. I got into some stuff, and it started a little leak on the 8 o'clock, led to a little leak on the 9 o'clock to the 10 to the 11. So I'm a little tardy, but here we are.
Well, we appreciate you doing this with us today.
My pleasure.
I'm Dan. This
Hello,
over
Dan.
here is Jake.
Hello.
Hey, howdy.
And welcome to our little radio show in Dallas. I finished this just Sunday.
Yeah.
Love it, dude. Really,
Cool.
I don't want to make this a backhanded compliment, but I'm surprised at how much I love it. Just
Awesome.
Because you do seem to be good at many things, and didn't know if writing would be one of those, but I just like the style. I like the quick hitty. I was telling Jake earlier, who doesn't like you nearly as much as I do, because he didn't read that book yet. But just the style, there's no 15-page story. It's all quick hits, and you got so much, but you pulled enough from each thing, I thought, to really make it move. The longest part was at the end, and by the end I was pumped up. I also, Matthew, I don't know what I should call you. I'm fired up to see what the next 50 years brings for you, man. Great book.
I appreciate that. You know how, I write it. I'm honored with it. I don't know how it's going to translate. I don't know how it's going to be received. And to go along this tour and hear in ways, like you just told me, ways that it translated and was not just only, oh, that's just a book about you, Matthew, though it is very personal, that people going, here's what I got out of it. Or I laughed my ass off. Or you know what? I never thought of this. This was a little wisdom bomb you crossed that I'm taking with me in my pocket. That makes my heart swell. It makes me happy because that's the goal. I want to make art that's going to translate. So to hear it does makes me happy.
One book-related, real inside thing that I was wondering about. Have you been in contact with Johan, the Amsterdam bike owner?
No.
Since the adventure?
We have not. Two of my buddies, though, Rory and Cole. Rory did see him again. Rory went back over there on a European trip and went by and talked to him. Was he not a stud?
The CSI, is CSI?
Yeah.
He's on CSI and of course the Stoner. Not that you weren't a stoner in
Days Confused.
In Days, yeah. We're big fans. To prove it, we wanted to play you a little audio. We certainly love McConaughey audio. We love how you can describe making a sandwich.
Okay.
Although a lot of debate on our station has been about putting ketchup on a sandwich. Is that the proper thing to do?
Hey, one man's appetite's another's indigestion.
Yeah, so want to prove it, Jake?
Yeah,
with some audio?
If we have a debate about what to cover in the next segment on the show, we spin a wheel. Here's the wheel.
All right.
The McConaughey wheel.
We have a McConaughey wheel.
Right. Yes.
And then it landed on 3. We'll talk Cowboys today. Should we talk Cowboys, Longhorns, or Rangers? Go ahead and spin that's what we do.
Got you.
I pre-ordered the book. I loved it. I was wondering, it does seem a daunting task to go through all the writing. You are journal guy. Jake was imploring me to start a journal before the pandemic, or as the pandemic started.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be living through a clearly unprecedented time, blah, blah, blah. But to go through them all years later must have been a mountain.
Was a mountain. I mean, I had over the, starting 20 years ago, I started transcribing some, like uploading them to my laptop so I could have them sort of organized and find things. But 80% of it was going back through them, making copies, stacking up, seeing what the hell I had. And after like day 8 of when I took them all away, I had ended up with 7 stacks in front of me. And there was a big stack of stories. There's a big stack of people, a big stack of places, big stack of prescribes, lectures, or advice. There's a big stack of poems, stack of prayers, and a stack of bumper stickers.
You said poems, not porn.
Poems, right? Yeah, not porn.
Okay.
No, these were poems. So those are my 7 stacks. stories, people, places, prescribes, poems, prayers, and a whole lot of bumper stickers. And then it was sifting through those where the title Greenlight came from, because I noticed that that was an outcome of a lot of events that, even though they seemed like red and yellow lights in my life, that a lot of them revealed Greenlight assets in their future.
And I know something that you cover on that front in the book, and I've heard you talk about this on your tour, is when you were able to transition a little bit more into getting things made that you wanted made,
Yep.
and taking roles that you wanted, a little bit more than possibly the romantic comedy track. It seems like a lot of that stuff that you have gotten done once you were able to be a little more choosy is a little dark. And to me, Rust Cole is the greatest character in the history of dramatic television. And I
Greatest
wonder,
detective ever walked. Yeah.
and I wonder if you're the type of guy who, when you're playing someone who is like Rust, so nihilistic and his worldview, if that impacts you personally at all.
Sure. Well, look, every role, you know, and there's a misconception about acting out there. It's like you think it's all about playing someone else. No, you study that other character and you give what the page gives you, but every good actor is playing a part of themselves. You have to ultimately, by the time it gets to screen and it gets to the day where you're actually shooting the scene, it needs to be deeply personal, to where I look at it like an old 70s Equalizer. You know, Rustin Cole, An Island of a Man, those philosophies, that agnostic, sort of nihilistic guy. We all got that in us. I've got it in me. I just raised the volume. I raised the HKZ on that in myself. And then this part over here, which is, you know, good time, or hey, let it slide, or believer. No, I'm just lower that down on me. So every character is a version of some part of humanity that every actor, if it's worth the salt, needs to find that part of themselves to really portray that and emulate that.
I think some of that is shown by the fact that, as you highlight in the book, many of your most iconic lines were not written by someone else.
Yeah.
And I seriously got chills after reading the part about Dazed, which seems weird because that's not your most serious work, but just about going on set, and you actually came up with, let's say, the line to the redhead.
Yeah. So you want to hear that story?
Sure.
You just read it though, but it's worth sharing. It's a good one.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I had never heard it before.
Yeah, so I get the role of David Wooderson in Dazed and Confused. I was in the right bar, right time, introduced myself to the right guy, get called in, 3 lines, I read, I get it, 3 lines turn into 3 weeks work. But before the 3 lines turn into 3 weeks work, I show up on set to do what's called a hair and makeup test on the set of Dazed and Confused. I am not scheduled to work that day. It's just me show up, do hair, makeup. Richard Linklater, the director, will leave the set when he's cleared to come over and look at me and go, yeah, change this, do this, I like this, etc. On this so said night, outside the Top Notch drive-in, I come out of the trailer, hair and makeup. Richard comes up. Oh, this is great. Yeah, well, I like that. This is Wooderson. Yeah, it's great. Super. I'm about to leave, about to shake his hand and leave. And he goes, hey, wait a minute. He goes, you know, Wooderson's probably the type of guy who's been with the typical hot chicks at school. You know, do you think he'd have interest in the redheaded intellectual? I'm like, sure, man. Wooderson likes all kinds of chicks. He's like, well, Marissa Ribisi's playing the redheaded intellectual over here. She's sitting in her car. She's got the nerds in the back seat. Maybe Wooderson, you know, pulls up and tries to pick her up. I'm like, yeah, sure. Give me 30 minutes. I take a walk, go through my head. Who is my man? Who's Wooderson? Who's Wooderson? Next thing I know, I'm sitting in the car. I've got a lavalier mic on me. The place is lit. I'm in the parking lot of the Top Notch, about to shoot my very first scene to go pick up the Cynthia character. And there's not a line written. So I started to think about, who is my man, Wooderson? And in my head, I start saying, okay, Wooderson is about his car. I tell myself, all right, I'm in my 70 Chevelle. There's one. I said, Wooderson's about getting high. I said, well, Slater's riding shotgun. He's always got a doobie rolled up. There's 2. I said, I'm about rock and roll. I said, I got Ted Nugent Stranglehold in the 8-track right now. There's 3. And then I hear, action. And I look up, and in my head, I said, Wooderson's about picking up chicks. I got 3 out of 4. Put it in drive, pull out. I'm going to get the 4th. All right, all right, all right. So those were 3 affirmations of the 3 things my character did have while he was going to get the 4th. And yeah, and that scene was pretty much improvised. And then Rick kept inviting me back, you know, to the set, and would throw me in the middle of scenes. And that cast would lob me lines and ask me questions in the middle of scenes. And I would just kind of answer like Wooderson would.
And same with Keep on Living on the football
Yeah.
field at the end.
Yeah, that was actually 5 days after my dad passed away, 5 days into Shooting Days Confused. So I rushed back home to Houston. I'm there for 4 days. We do the Irish wake and everything. I come back. My family says, get back to work. That's what Dad wants you to do. I go back. There's that scene on the football field at the end of the movie. Well, about sundown that night, before we had started shooting, Richard Linklater, the director, and I were walking around on our own, just chatting, man to man, buddy to buddy. And he was asking me, what do you think it's all about? You know? And I was like, well, my dad moved on. He's physically gone, but how can I keep him spiritually alive in me? Yeah. Can I, he's just got to just keep living spiritually in me. Well, I just said it out loud because it had kind of come to me, and it was about my father's death. Well, that night on the football field, when Randall Pink Floyd's going, do I sign the drug policy or not? Do I play? And I go, well, you can do whatever you want to do. You just got to keep living, man. Livin. And I just threw it into the scene, and it stuck and became sort of a one-liner that I've tried to apply to almost everything in my life where I can. And it hasn't not worked yet. I don't know where it doesn't apply.
Amazing that those two things that you came up with on your first job have stuck with you all these years. And I'm going to make people have to buy the book to get the story on why there's no G.
Why there's no G, baby. There's definitely no G on purpose.
But it is in there, yeah.
I want to play one more brief piece of audio for you here. This is from an interview that actually occurred on our station. So I'm going to play this for you, and you tell me, Matthew McConaughey, do you recognize this?
Okay.
Somebody don't think so. Somebody knows so.
Oh yes.
He kept going. Somebody don't think so.
Do you know who
Who is that? All right, he's somebody from the 2005 University of Texas Longhorn national team.
That is correct. At the time, backup quarterback Colt McCoy, who was telling that story about the speech in the locker room before they headed out to the Rose Bowl.
I don't think so. Somebody knows so. Yeah, I remember that. It was, you got that confident team, that team going into a national championship, and towards the end of that season, they don't need a booster of, come on, guys. They don't need the pump up speech, right? It's like, let's get something. I thought they need something lyrical that they can get behind that is about just straight ownership of who they are. That's affirmative, moving forward with great confidence. And so that little riff came to me one night before I went to practice. And I said, just go in there and get them going on that. And so I started singing that practice, and they started chiming in. Of course, every time I talked to them, like, what the hell is he going on about now? And then I got them, they all got in tune. And then there in Pasadena, we all sang it again before that game.
Incredible. I feel like everybody will say, or people that say, I don't have any regrets are full of it. And everybody has some kind of regrets. I kind of think you don't, and that you're not full of it after reading that book. And that might be based on just the theory of green lights, and you need the reds and the yellows to appreciate the greens, perhaps.
Yeah,
you made mistakes, but
sure. And yeah, let's make that real clear. I mean, I'm pretty open about that in the book. You see me stepping shit quite a bit.
Well, I was betting on the Bills. That was put it all on the Bills.
When you're on a heater, you're on a heater.
Yeah. I didn't see things straight. It seemed too straight. Yeah, look, I mean, that's part of what the book's about. There's many things that I go, oh, I could have done that better. Oh, I could have handled that better. I could have handled that relationship better. That breakup, whatever that run-in was, I could have handled that better. But in the rearview mirror, so many of the things that I did wrong or could have done better, or where I stepped in SHIT, I either got embarrassed enough about that situation and of failure, or pissed off enough about that situation that I made changes that led to other great rewards. So, I, like everybody, go through hey, what am I going to forgive you for, McConaughey? What am I going to say that enough's enough? We're stopping that in our lives. I go through those recalibrations all the time, but I look back. I wouldn't change any of it. I mean, if life's all green lights, then it's all just for entertainment. And what the hell, if it's one big Saturday, what are we doing here? So those red and yellows have led to brighter, shining, longer lasting greens in my life. Yeah.
So as I told you, you portrayed my favorite TV character of all time in Rustin Cole. You're also right about not putting the ketchup on the sandwich, but putting it on the side and dipping it. But you're also in my favorite comedy of all time, Legendary movie, all-star cast. You've got to tell me,
Tropic Thunder.
was Tropic Thunder the most fun you've ever had making a movie?
So much when we were in Kauai, because our director had a house there. I go over. I'm already jumping in with all those that are in the main cast, right? And Downey Jr.'s doing his thing. Jack Black's doing his thing. Everyone's going off every scene. The whole crew's laughing their ass off everywhere. And I hop in this smaller role and have a good time and attack it. And it's, the ceiling for comedy and insanity was very high. So I went for it. And then I got called back. We shot the stuff with Tom Cruise's character at the end about the G5, G nickel. That was a reshoot. We added that in later. So we came back and added that part in. That was a whole hell of a lot of fun. Man, that movie is one of those, you can put it on anywhere in the movie at any time and it holds up all the way out.
Yeah, it's legendary.
The DVD commentary is also legendary. If you've ever
Is it?
had a
I haven't
chance,
listened to it.
if you've ever had a chance to watch that, because they actually put some things in there just for the commentary. But I bet you won't. You're a busy man. You got stuff to do. You got
I
books
haven't
to
even
sell.
seen all my movies.
Is that true? Really? Because
Yes.
you said you watch True Detective every Sunday.
I watched it every time. They gave it to me, obviously, as a star in it and as executive producer. I had the ability on the DVD to watch it straight through. But I said, my wife and I said, no, you know what? Every Sunday night, tuck the kids in, we get our dinner, get a bottle of wine, we're going to go in there. And we looked forward to that for 8 weekends in a row. And so I was on the same trip as everybody else.
Yeah.
My Monday morning proverbial water cooler talk was about what happened last night in True Detective and what was going to come up. And mind you, I didn't remember actually what was going to come up. I had made it, but I didn't know where they had I'd forgotten completely where they cut the episodes. So it was a killer experience for me. I missed that show on TV.
Did you watch the Unsolved Mysteries? Matthew was in
Yes.
an Unsolved Mysteries, and I
They caught
searched
the
it.
guy too. They
On
caught
YouTube
him.
searched it.
They
That
caught
actually
him.
happened?
Yes. And this was a joke in our house. They caught that guy within 2 weeks after that from a tip that was called in from watching the Unsolved Mystery. So the joke in the house was I was going around to my big brother going, lifesaver, lifesaver.
That's awesome. Hey, we really appreciate your time. We wanted to ask for one more thing. If indeed you would be able to give it, I think you'll be able, but you'd be willing to give it to us. This
Let's
is
see.
our wacky radio liner, where we would like you to identify yourself and then say something like this.
Hey, this is McConaughey here, and I got to tell you, I never listened to Dan and Jake on the ticket.
Perfect.
Thanks so much, man.
Let it
Hey.
rip.
Best of luck.
Appreciate it. I'm glad.
Love the
thanks
book.
for reading the book. I'm glad it translated, man.
And yeah, good luck. We'll talk to you down the road, hopefully. See ya.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
I'll be good.